Okay, today is going to be a fun day. I'm headed out to South Lake Tahoe. I'm going to be meeting my friend who lives up in Oregon, who's in town for a show. His passion and his business is restoring wooden boats. And today we're going to take a tour of his fantastic personal watercraft and talk a little bit about what it's like to be in that business. So come along for the ride. I hope you enjoy it. And make sure you subscribe and like and follow along with Silva Adventures. Got a call from my good friend, Mike. He's got a really interesting hobby / business. Mike, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit and tell us a little bit about you?
Mike Mayer from Portland, Oregon. Was born back east in Buffalo, and my dad and I got into the wooden boat hobby about 32 or 33 years ago.
God, that would make you over 30.
Makes me about 37, if my math is right.
Okay, 37, I'll go with that. How'd your dad get into it?
He was born in 46, so he grew up as a kid watching the boats in Buffalo on the Niagara River and the canals and stuff. And they never had one, but it was a sound and a sight that resonated with him and stayed with him till he was probably 40 something or 50 when we went to a boat show in Buffalo, and he just actually the movie on Golden Pond came out.
Oh yeah,
that's what sparked it for us. And he said, we're going to get one of those boats. My dad's a craftsman, and he's always done woodworking, and he's always been very talented with his hands and his eyes and his brain. So very mechanical and perfectionist. So we bought a boat, in fact, just like the model we're sitting on now, a Chris Craft Sportsman, and we totally screwed it up because we didn't know what we were doing.
How long have you been doing it now?
I started a shop out of the garage in North Carolina in probably like 2006 or something. I was a stay-at-home parent at the time, and kids were getting old enough where they were going to school, and I needed something to do, so I was doing boat stuff because I could turn it on and turn it off as needed, and it was something that engaged me and it was fun.
So tell me a little bit about this. Even though it's early, so there aren't a ton of boats here yet, the boats will be showing up over the next few days. What is this?
This is the Lake Tahoe Concourse d'Elegance. It's been going on, I bet, for 30 or 40 years. I don't really know. Okay. Because I was back east, so it was always one of those like, man, bucket list. Someday I just want to go and be a spectator at the concourse. And now I live out here, and I've showed boats and won the show, and I enjoy coming down here and using the lake and boating. It's gorgeous. You're being very humble. You're actually a judge. I've been judging. So do people bribe you? No. I know I am bribable. I am bribable. You are bribable? Yes. Beer and food works? Just cold beer. When the floors of these boats get incredibly hot, mostly during judging hours, so we have to get in, take our shoes off, and the cushions are 100 degrees, the floors, and the you have to crawl around all over the boat. Right? It's the best part, but it also, when it's hot, it's hot. So, so cold beer goes a long way. Cold beer's good, You may get a few extra points. I'm totally kidding. Of course you are. We don't have time, but I do enjoy having a beer on a boat afterwards. At a judged show, like, I'll be assigned a class of boats, and once I'm done judging my class of boats, as long as I still have my judge's hat on, I can walk up to any boat and say, do you mind if I take a look at your boat? And the owners are usually honored, like, absolutely, get on. And they don't realize I'm just doing it because I want to get on their boat. Well, they probably like to hear your opinion too. Yeah, they probably do, but that's the thing, and that's what kind of keeps them coming back. Because judging really is a great way to take up 2 full days of a boat show and not get to enjoy it with your friends or your family and stuff like that, because it's kind of hard work. Well, a lot of people put a lot of money and time and effort into these things, so it's amazing. So tell me a little bit about this boat, and we'll do a walk around. So what is this boat? This is a 1947 Chris Craft U-22 Sportsman. So the U stands for utility, 22 is because it's 22 feet long, and Sportsman was just the model they put on these open style boats, because the earlier boats had cockpits, and they were called runabouts, and they were very limiting. You were kind of like in a seat, and you were kind of there the whole time. And if the cooler came on the boat, it was like jammed in between you on the seat or on the floor, and you had no leg room. And this is an open boat. Okay. So this boat's more practical for fishing or skiing or wakeboarding or whatever. This particular model was the most popular boat Chris Craft built. They built more of these than any other model over their entire history of building wooden boats. And it's because it's so easy to use.
You know, it kind of seems modern. It's got like a modern design. Like you said, it's kind of open and having the engine in the middle. A lot of ski boats have the engine in the middle like this.
Yeah, inboard power.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can sit on this, and it's this seat is an option. It came from the factory. This is an original. It's removable, so I could just take it all the way out, or you can slide it one way or the other, turn it around, or do whatever you want with it.
How did you get this boat?
So this boat was purchased about 10 years ago with a client and / good friend of mine. Our deal was he would buy the boat, and then I'd restore the boat, and then we'd split the hundreds of thousands of dollars of profit after the boat was completed.
That's how you got independently wealthy, huh?
Yeah, not. The old saying, you know how to make a small fortune in boat restoration, you start with a large fortune.
Yes.
I didn't start with a large fortune. So
I've heard that saying referring to airplanes.
Airplanes,
yes.
There's a lot of things.
Yeah.
But when I finally got it finished, I took it to a boat show, and on my short ride from the dock, the boat launch to the dock, I kind of fell in love with it, and I just decided, why would I sell this? This is such a perfect boat. And I always knew this model was well revered and people loved them, but I never had one. So
right.
I milked it out for a couple years with my partner, told him it was for sale, but I was not finding any buyers. And then finally I bought him out.
If someone wanted to buy this boat, what would it cost?
This is probably a $50,000 boat.
That's a lot lower than I thought you were going to say, because you look at a new Malibu or a new Sea Ray, $50,000 doesn't buy much in a boat. And this is like phenomenal.
Right.
And not only that, you have such ramp presence and everything else with this boat. That's amazing that you can get this for $50,000.
That's the sad thing about the wooden boat world is the people that really appreciate it are getting older, and they're aging out of being able to use the boats or dying. And it's a great time if you want to buy, because you can buy a really nice restored boat that someone put the money into. Because the restorations, you know, if someone brought me this boat and wanted me to restore it, not this one because it's
perfect,
pretty nice, but like one that needed restoration, it would be $150, and you'd still only have a $50,000 or $60,000 boat when I'm finished. People that have a boat that's been in the family for 60, 70 years, they'll do it if they have the resources, but a normal person's not going to buy a boat from Craigslist and then come and spend $120,000 with me to restore it.
So Mike, what are some of the interesting characteristics of this boat?
Okay, because this boat's so original, I think there's some interesting things. The first and foremost to me is the name of the boat, which is Mike. And obviously my name is Mike, but this boat, when I was doing my research on it, there's a museum back east in Newport News, Virginia. If you call them with the hull number, which is unique to each model boat, they will send you the shipping documents. This boat was named Mike back in 1947.
Wow.
And whoever bought it had Chris Craft put the name on the back. Of all the boats I've done and seen and researched, very, very, very few, and I mean like 1%, have a name from Chris Craft on the back. And the fact that this name was my name, maybe I should just have this boat. I think that the universe is telling me that this should be my boat. But as I mentioned earlier, this boat is all original. So the decks, the sides, the bottom even is original. And if you were to look at a Chris Craft owner's manual, even going back to the 20s, they said these boats had an expected life of about 9 years. So this boat's not supposed to be here right now, according to Chris Craft. And it's certainly not supposed to be on its original bottom.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're out there plying the waters of Lake Tahoe.
Why do you think the bottom lasted so long?
Because this boat came from Michigan. It was picked up from the factory. So we find a lot of the boats in Michigan, the seasons are short. People in Michigan knew boats. Personally, I think it's a testament to the engineers and the designers of these things way, way back, because they have not changed very much in structure. This boat is still being held together by its original brass screws in wood that's 70-something years old. And I have refastened the bottoms. The whole bottom's been tightened, and I put a caulking material in between the open seams, so it doesn't leak like it used to, but it still leaks. a little bit, but they were built, they leaked from the factory back in the day. And
these decks are original too?
They're original, yeah. And the decks, they take a lot of beating from the sun and the UVs,
I know,
but they
that's
don't
amazing.
get like a physical beating like the bottom does. And this boat too, the instruments are original and unrestored. The motor that was in it was the smallest motor they offered. So my guess is it was a fishing boat. It was not a fancy boat, but it was amazing, original to the boat, and it started up every single time. And I used it for years until this motor became available. I put a 283 in it. So it's an Owens flagship 283, 185 horsepower. It's perfect power. The boat will go about 40 miles an hour with that. I think that the 283 was available in 1920. They would have put it in all their boats. It's the perfect motor for all the boats because it's not too heavy. It's got plenty of power, but not too much. I struggle with this boat because I love it, and I've had more different people over the years in this boat than any other boat I've owned. It's like a B+ probably from the judging world, but if it were an A+, I probably wouldn't want a bunch of people throwing their unicycle or a 12-pack of beer on it. I would be very guarded.
Right.
So it's like in this perfect sweet spot. And then I of course go off and think, what was its life like? Like, hopefully, this is a 47, so hopefully in 1957, they were doing the same thing. And, you know, I would love to know who owned this boat, who that Mike was, and did he buy it for himself, or was it a retirement gift from his wife or from somebody or the company, or, you know, it would just be cool to me. It would add no value to the boat, but it would make me happy to know how this thing was used.
Yeah. So Mike, where can someone find you if they wanted to get their wooden boat restored?
www.loboat.com, and the L stands for Lake and the O stands for Oswego, and it's Lake Oswego, Oregon. It's about 20 minutes south of Portland. I've got a guy working for me full time. We're doing all stages of restoration, care, and maintenance. I do storage. I'm trying to find the perfect balance to keep my real estate world where it needs to be, and then have a foot in the boat world to keep my clients on the lake happy and keep their boats looking good and starting every time they push the button.
All right, thanks a lot, Mike. I really appreciate your time, and I hope everyone enjoys this beautiful boat and the story behind it. So thanks again.
You're welcome.
We pushed off the dock and spent some quality time exploring the shores of Lake Tahoe on Mike's beautiful Chris Craft Sportsman. I highly value friendships like this, and I appreciate the opportunity to share them with my YouTube community. Thanks a lot for coming along on this boating edition of Silva Adventures, and if you enjoyed this, please subscribe to be notified of future updates. Let me know in the comments if you enjoy these vintage boats and/or this type of content. I hope to see you again on future Silva Adventures.